Suicide is becoming one of the highest death rates in the country. Why do people commit suicide? One of the leading causes of suicide is depression. Depression is a disease that most people do not take seriously. They look at the disease as somebody feeling sad or worse, just feeling sorry for themselves. That is not the case. My whole life I have had my own battles with depression. One incident that happened 3 years ago almost led me to commit suicide. It was just a normal day until I got home from work. To this day, I have no idea what triggered it, but it happened. It was a very scary situation for me and for the people that love me. And so what is depression? Is this a real disease? What kinds are there? And what can we do to help those who are suffering from this disease? What is depression? According to MayoClinic.org, depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. Also called major depression disorder or clinical depression, it affects how you feel, think, and behave and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. It can be considered a mental disease, but it is so much more than that. People who suffer from depression have problems doing simple tasks or just don't think life is worth living. This is a real disease, and it's more than just being sad. BetterHelp.com says there are 5 different types of depression: major depression, persistent depression disorder, bipolar disorder, seasonal affective disorder or SAD, and postpartum depression. People who suffer from major depression tend to many describe as an all-consuming darkness, which is what I suffer from. People with persistent depression disorder exhibits that are persistent and ongoing, often lasting for just 2 years. Bipolar disorder is associated with mood and behavioral changes. For an example, someone who might have multiple personalities. SAD is characterized by the mood swings as the seasons changes. Postpartum depression is found in 1 in 7 mothers. Mothers with postpartum depression experience feelings of extreme sadness, anxiety, and exhaustion that makes it difficult for them to complete daily care activities for themselves and others. So now that we understand that this disease is real and we know all the types of depression, what can we do to help? As someone who has suffered from this disease for many years, I know what it can do to somebody. Many people think they are too big, too good, or just too afraid to seek medical help. I know I didn't want to sit in front of a complete stranger and tell them about my problems that they may not understand just to give me pills to take. And there are many others out there that are just like me. So what can we do to help? HelpGuide.org suggests the first thing we need to do is recognize the symptoms and be concerned. If they are used to enjoying certain things and activities but don't now, be concerned. If they seem to have a negative outlook on life, be concerned. If they seem to eat more or less than what they are used to, be concerned. If they talk about sleeping more or less than usual, be concerned. Showing concern to people who may be battling this disease could stop them from making a very terrible decision. I know, because it did with me. Another thing that we can do is ask questions. One example that HelpGuide.org gives is when did you begin feeling this way? One thing HelpGuide.org suggests we do not do is say stuff like this is all in your head. As someone who struggles with depression, The last thing I want somebody to tell me is it's all in my head, because it only seems to make matters worse. Another thing we can do is to encourage people to get help. When I had my battle with depression 3 years ago, I had a friend who convinced me to get help. I did, and now I'm in a much better place. Depression is a very real and very serious disease, one that affects more people than any other disease. It is important that we understand what this disease is, how serious it is, the different kinds of depressions there are, and know exactly what we can do to help those who are struggling with this disease. If it was not for good friends, my loved ones, and my church family, I may not be here today. There may be somebody you love who is struggling with this disease. Recognize the signs and be the help that person needs before it's too late.